At the end of the day, I'm here to help entrepreneurs design brands that guide them to seven-figure success. What is shaking, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor live stream. I got my man Brett Brown in the house once again. What's shaking, my dude?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Henry?
Dude, this is going to be a fun conversation. Today we're going to be talking about how to productize, systematize, and build your business to that seven-figure mark, especially if you're a personal brand like myself. And so I was triggered to have this conversation because I was on the CNBC app last week and I bumped into an article / video of this couple that retired, and they were like 37 years old. They retired early off of some money that they saved, and now they're living off grid out in Arizona, and you know their net worth keeps going up, and it reminded me of you a couple years ago when we first met, and I was explaining to you like what I do and how I live, and you were like, dude, you kind of live like a retired person.
Yeah. The only thing missing is Florida.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me, and that's why I came up with the silly thumbnail for the video, is because a couple years back, you said that to me, and then I bumped into this article and I was like, yeah, that seems to be kind of the lifestyle that I've been able to create for myself and my family. And I kind of want to share with the audience today, like how you could potentially do that for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the question we all ask, right? Like how do you make more money and do less work, and, all at the same time. And so I think that's, like when you said that sort of about the article about their net worth keeps growing. I think beyond the Arizona of it, because like certainly the thing that helps with retiring is how you manage your money and where you live. But I think, having these, as close to passive or as many passive income streams as possible, like that's something you hear a lot of business people, who are smart and good at business say. They talk a lot about passive income and all those things. And I think, it's interesting. Like what you've done just as a business owner, taking sort of the what you do out of it, of branding. Because I think a lot of people might hear this and just think like, oh, cool. Like it's how does it apply to me? But it's a, when I hire branding firms. But no, it's really just how do you, just like productizing and systematizing your business. I think that's something that I'd love to hear you kind of walk us through.
Well, I could tell you when I first started in the early years that there was no system, there was no process. I was doing everything inside of my business, and I'm sure a lot of you folks can relate. And those folks that are watching live, I want to encourage you to drop some comments and questions into us while we're live, so we can get you into the conversation, because that's what we're here for, and we want to get you involved in the conversation. But that was one of the biggest struggles, was understanding process, understanding system. That didn't come easy for me. So it was just easier for me to do everything versus plot it out, outline it out, and create sort of a standard operating procedure for things that needed to be done. So that took some time, and it also took a lot of courage, because I wasn't comfortable with delegating out. And that is a struggle for a lot.
Yeah. That's funny. It's funny because in the business that I do now, we end up working with a lot of startups, and that seems to be a really common thing, especially with people who either have a smaller business, who have a newer business. So I imagine that's probably something that you relate a lot with, especially for when you're talking about personal brands. But it's yeah, that seems to be a common theme, especially like I said, across industries. That's why like us in startups and other people who want to affect change. But it's really just, yeah, like people have this syndrome where they can't seem to let go of things. They take it all on, and I think, yeah, letting go. It's interesting to hear you call it brave. As much as we
Yeah.
talked about the bravery and fearless, it's funny how fearless you need to be in order to succeed. For all the people that look for safety and they look for comfort and they look for, data driven stuff and all these different things that sort of when we look at this from a marketing or a branding lens, and really it's like all that comfort and safety gets you is irrelevance. And it's interesting how it relates as a business too. Yeah. Cause like if you're a control freak, then you feel more comfortable taking it all on, but you're also hurting the business in like profound ways that you don't always see immediately or understand immediately.
Right. Right. And one of the things that drove me nuts earlier on was, and we were talking about this offline, was, I would get a new client and then I would have to put off my marketing efforts because I was busy working with the client. And then once I
Yeah,
got done with the client, I would jump on marketing again. And it was a
that's funny.
horrible,
Yeah.
vicious cycle that is not sustainable. And when I was bringing this up to my coach at the time, they said, I think it's time for you to delegate. I think it's time for you to replace yourself. And I'll never forget that conversation.
Yep.
It's time for you, Henry, to replace yourself and get people in the right places doing the right things. And this is where I got to credit Dan Sullivan with that book he came out, Who Not How, where that mentality now I have completely shifted into, which I don't care how it gets done anymore. When I have my team meetings every Monday morning, we set goals for the week. And if I had to worry about how each and every goal was going to be executed, I would lose my mind. So now I have a mentality of, okay, here's our goal for the week. Who's going to get this done on the team? Right. So I
Mhm.
look for who's, not hows. So who is going to help with Instagram distribution? Who is going to help with video content creation? Who's going to project manage the design projects that we got going on right now? Right. While I stay in my lane of genius or zone of genius and do the live stream, the podcasting and the strategy with the client. Right. So,
Yeah.
you know, knowing that is really half the battle. I sound like GI Joe here, but
Yeah.
right.
Well, I mean, it's true though. Like I think that's a common theme you see. Like really, really good leaders are really good at delegating. Uh, like like you hear even people like Warren Buffett or whoever, like it's, you hear them whenever they talk about why are you successful at business or, what's advice on, so and so, like they're, when it comes to this sort of stuff, like you're echoing, yeah, and I can't speak to it personally because I haven't read the Sullivan thing, but yeah, what it is, you hire good people and you let them do their job.
Right.
And I think as a even certainly just for my field, like having been in advertising for as long as I have and branding and all that, sort of what makes a good creative leader, even within our department, is, autonomy. You want to train people to be as autonomous as you can. So you don't have to be with everybody on every meeting. So you don't have to, you're training people, you're training the trust in. And so like that's something my wife and I champion sort of as leaders, which is like, we train people so that we trust the people. And so, or we just hire people that we trust to do their job. Because what's great too, especially when all that matters is that you have a thing that needs to get done and you let somebody do it, then they might build new process in your organization. They might, bring new thinking that you haven't thought of, right? And so it's always great to sort of get that stuff. I mean, that's why another just like advice I think is always funny, and it's way easier said than done. Um, but yeah, it's true. It's like, if you hire people with a really good track record who are also lazy, they're going to make your business more efficient because that's what they want to do. They want to get out of the office on time. They don't want to, you don't have to work as hard as long as you're getting it done. And
Right.
especially if you're getting it done at a high level, it doesn't, like again, just going back to the Buffett thing, like you don't get you don't get extra points because something's hard,
Right.
like
Right.
just because, yeah. So I think that's all important to think about when you think about like, cool, like what do we have to do? Great. Whose job is it to do that? And taking it on and realizing, that it's a function of somebody else's role. And
Yeah.
so you're looking to offload that and replace yourself is a really nice way to think about it too. That's a way my wife talks about sort of roles as we grow our stuff too. And within other clients that we help, but it's like really like, yeah, how do you, identifying all the roles that you're taking on, really parsing those out. So like understanding how many different hats you're wearing and then one by one taking those off,
Right.
until
Right.
until one day you're where you are, you're like, cool, I worked one day this week and the rest of the days I hung out with my family and went for a boat ride and did all these other things.
Yeah. And listen, I could certainly feel what James Hoffman here is saying. I find I want to do so much to create content and products and even update current products, but I find myself doing the marketing and the back end stuff like website updates more than I want to. But I have a hard time trusting others and delegating. And I struggle with the same thing, James. And I got to tell you, I wish I had like I could just like wave a wand over your head and it be like that mindset is going to go away overnight and you're going to trust everybody tomorrow. I think what really helped me was I dipped my toe in the water and I felt that autonomy. And here's how I remember like it was yesterday. I was on vacation for the first time after building my team, and I saw emails going out on my behalf without me literally having to write them and pushing send. And man, when I tell you, that felt really good. And then, that went for many, many years, and we had record years of revenue and great client work. And then COVID came and I completely constricted because I didn't know how long it was going to last. And I was like, I'm just going to tighten things up a little bit. And then I saw things declining because I was trying to do too much. And one of the things that I want to share is this, and this is what I realized now, because COVID has calmed down tremendously and we brought back the full team. I forgot how much room that the team allows me to think now that I'm not having to write my emails, now that I'm not having to do all the tedious freaking project management work, that room, that breathing room, like makes me think things now that I normally wouldn't be able to think because I don't have the capacity to think because I'm too busy updating my website or funnel or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Right. So that has helped me tremendously.
So I guess what I'd like to do is let's start getting into things. Let's
Sure.
Because that feels like a good segue. Same here, James. I think what you're talking about, Henry, is where we want to be, right? Like that's where people want to be. Again, even as in our role, like the only way that we've ever found success, doing this stuff, growing and earning more and doing less, and not taking things on. I think the point is yeah, like maybe we get into what the title of the show is, right? Which is Productizing and Systematizing, because all the things you're describing, I will tell you from personal experience, having seen it in other places. I mean, like we've not done this personally just because we've had the benefit of having seen others go through these pains, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then also so we've been fortunate enough to be able to guide a few other places away from it and steer away from it ourselves. But really, James and anybody else that's here, like that trust and that thing that we're talking about and all those different roles and everything that we're saying, all of that, everything is dependent on your process.
Yes.
You know, how neatly figured out is your process? How processed is what you do? You know, even if you do many things,
Mm-hmm.
is there a repeating sort of rhythm to what you do? If you make if you make clothes, if you make toothpaste, if you make cars, if you you know, if you're a marketing agency, if you're a branding agency, if you're a consultant, if you're a yoga teacher,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like what are the in your business as a whole, what are the things that you do, right? And how clear is what you do to yourself? You know, and
Right.
if you have that clarity, if you know what you're trying to do, if you know what the end goal looks like, if you begin with the end in mind,
Mm-hmm.
then you know how to start, you know, and
Right.
you know along the way you can train people. And that's why, again, like when even I was just saying, like if you train the trust, you know, if you train people that you trust, or you bring people in that you trust, it's because you know what role they're taking on. You can set smart goals or any other type of sort of measurable things, and you know they're going to accomplish it. And if they don't, then that's a conversation that you're able to have because you know clearly what's missing and what's not there. When you don't have a process, then it's
Right.
really easy to be like, okay, cool, everybody just kind of figure it out and do a thing, and you know, this project is due at the end of the month, and
Well, I'm
everybody's
laughing.
working, you know, everybody's good at what they do, but everybody's in a different process, so nobody's working collaboratively, and suddenly you're way over budget and over time despite having all these good people on. You as the business, you know, if you haven't put them through your structure and sort of the way that your process works and what makes you fundamentally different, then yeah, they're like nobody's working with a unified vision.
Yeah. And I'm laughing because I remember, I'm going back probably 5 years now. I hired this social media coach, right, to help me get better on social media. And he charged me like, I don't know, 5 grand or something, right? For 10 sessions. Let's just, I forget, but 10 sessions, say, right? And I remember getting on the first session, getting off that, going through and then getting off that session. I said, that guy just fucking winged this whole thing. There is not, I had not one feeling of process or system that this guy was taking me through. He
Yeah.
wung, is that even a word, wung? Like he, he like completely slapped this freaking call together and just by the skin of his, like it, you know, you fill it in, right? And after
Yeah.
that first call, I'm like, I'm not comfortable with this guy. I'm not confident in this guy no more. And
Yeah.
then, that sort of woke me up because this was pre processing system here. And I
Hey,
said,
then you get
I wonder if I'm showing up that way to my clients.
it sounds like you got your money's worth, if only because he showed you what not to do.
Right. And so
Yeah.
I have a little outline here. It's going to feel a little prescriptive, but here's a little outline here that I want to share with you. And again, you don't have to have an agency. You could be a coach, you could be a consultant, you could be a solopreneur. But
Hmm.
I want you to keep this outline in mind because this is what's going to have everything glue together nicely. And when a client does come your way or a prospect does come your way, they're going to feel more confident in you because they can feel the structure. And I am a firm believer that structure sells. If you have a structure and people can, and you could demonstrate that structure, it just builds more confidence and trust into your buyers. Like when somebody builds a home, and you're looking for builders, and the builder comes and he's like, this is phase 1, this is phase 2, this is phase 3, and this is how long it's going to take. Like, where do we sign that guy up versus I'm a little busy. How about this one? I'm really busy. I'm going to see if I can squeeze you in. I don't know. Do you really want to paint that railing white? Like, maybe it's, there's a lot of, maybe you should just paint the whole thing, the same color. Like, bro, I want my railing white. You know what I mean? Like, you're already talking me out of shit. Right? Like, so again, that's two different types of brand experience, if you will. Which one are you going to hire? Right. Yeah. So I'm trying to, my goal for this video is to help you guys understand that structure. So first things first is really understanding business objectives and breaking those down. This is what we do. But I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes here in the Brand Accelerator program. But when we get to the business objectives workshop, we break it down into 3, you can't see the screen, but 3 priorities.
He's holding up a number. He's holding up 3 fingers.
I would guess that number, guys. Revenue. So it's cash flow and profits. Like, what's our goal there? Awareness. What's our marketing and funnel strategy? And efficiency. Exactly what we're talking about today. What are our processes? What are our systems that need to be installed? Right? Let's look at this right, to help us run a more efficient business so that it'll run without us, or we have a model to scale, which we can certainly, once we get to that point, we can remove ourselves and put the right people in place. All right. So focusing in on those 3 priorities and objectives are crucial. Okay. Then when we get to the processes and systems part, outlining that out. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this by yourself because I tried doing it and I sat down and I opened up a Google sheet and I tried to do it. And I was like, there's no effing way that I'm getting this done by myself, because my brain didn't think that way. So I hired somebody and he walked me through the process of doing this. But once we outlined it all out step by step, and this was so tedious, guys. And at the time I felt like, when is this going to stop? When is this going to end? This is like nails on a chalkboard for me. But it wasn't until we got finished with it that I realized how important it really was. And when we were able to lay it all out and then build it inside of a project management platform, like a Basecamp, like a Monday.com, that I really start to see things come together. And that was huge. That was huge.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too. I think in there you said a couple cool things. It's not to belabor it, but yeah, it's the what's nice is you say, even with other businesses, as you get into it, again, you begin with the end in mind. So like the most important thing to always suss out isn't just like, cool, like what's the goal of this single project, but it's asking bigger questions so you get to understand the broader, bigger picture. And then like for what we go through, I think for every campaign or every project we undertake, whether it's a branding effort or a strategy effort or a marketing or even like R&D for new products and stuff, or even internal stuff, org and culture design, the kinds of things that we do, it still asks some general sort of things about, like, so what are we, beyond just revenue goals, also, like what are the business challenges we're trying to overcome? What are the communications challenges? What are the, like what's the cultural challenge that, what are some hard truths we can lean into? And so like, what bigger visions and goals can we unlock in there? And then, designing the most efficient way to do that stuff. I think even even with a project like building efficiency, right? Like that's a project that I worked with you on, right? For
Yeah.
your stuff
Yeah.
was making a project, was making a deliverable more efficient
Yeah.
whilst, but that, thinking back to it, like how did that start, right? Like that started with, okay, what's the delivery here? Okay, great. At its highest end, what is missing from this thing that you wish people could have?
Yeah.
Great. What are people not liking about what it is now? What are people liking most? So knowing all the things about, again, just really fully understanding what we're working towards, and then awesome. So then how do we get there now? Cool. What do we want to keep? And then throwing the rest away and saying, great, how can we really get there more efficiently? So these are the things. So in doing that, I think that's a good sort of roadmap for, if you have things that are must-haves, then that's really the process. The
Yeah.
way you get from those things, it's going to depend on personnel. Like at an agency, one creative director might get there one way, a different creative director is going to lead a team there the other way.
Right.
It's why even at bigger agencies, it depends on which creative leadership you have working on your piece of business, or if you're, a creative at that place, it depends on whose team you're on.
Yeah.
That'll greatly affect kind of, how things work and how you accomplish stuff. But yeah, it doesn't mean that one way is better or worse than the other. It just means, this place has the beats that work like this, and within those things, that's where people get to really shine, and kind of, they understand then, okay, here's what I have to do, here's the things I need to hit, but I really have freedom to work within here. So you're giving them a real clear door to their freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're showing them where they can really go and have fun and explore. Even as somebody, like if you're hiring an IT person, cool, like here's where you get to really make your job easier and your life easier, and where you get to find rewarding stuff from here. And then yeah, like outlining the process, like Basecamp, Monday, Trello, all that stuff. And then yeah, you talked about having somebody walk you through it, so that's what made me think of that example with us, was just like, yeah, like again, that you have a thing that's working, and you hire people then to help it work better. It's why other businesses, they'll hire consultants sometimes, and they'll do it specifically for a goal. You don't just bring somebody in and just be like,
Right.
generally speaking, make my business better. It's no, like
Well,
it's
that's another thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to hiring, because I said to myself, okay, well, how does one hire? And this is a whole episode for another day, but like one of the things that really helped me hire the right people was to hire them based off of a shared vision. And that was something that really, really helped me. And I recognize that's why I have the team that I have now, literally consistently for the last 5 years. We're going on 5 years this summer, and without any churn. We
that's
had a
huge.
few we had a
Congrats
few.
on that.
Yeah, we had a thank you. I really think that's a huge accomplishment, because we've had additional designers from who we have right now, and they sort of fell off. They fell off the wagon, and it was I loved working with them at the time. They were great, but you could tell that the visions were off, and that's why they're not here anymore, right?
Yeah.
But when I remember when COVID hit, and I had to have that conversation with everybody, and I said, we're gonna muscle through this, and we're gonna get through it. And at the time, I was nervous, but 2 months later, we had one of our biggest months ever in the history of this business. So it just goes to show, like sometimes you gotta white knuckle the steering wheel and just plow through that turbulence with the people that are in it with you, right? And
Yeah.
it's very hard to find that. And so when you do, treat them well.
Yeah. I mean, again, yeah, I don't want to take off on the flow here, but yeah, I think it's, man, I'm a broken record. It's I just, all I know is one thing. And so, yeah, what you're bringing up is a really nice sort of callback to, uh, when I was on your podcast a few episodes ago, but it's the importance of brand strategy, right? And how you use it. Like one thing that we're really big on is you know what we're not. Like it's we are not an ad agency. We're not a branding firm. Just because you know meaning the blazing glory, because like what we do is different. Like if you go to an ad agency, you get an ad. If you go to a branding firm, you get a brand. Like so in that inherently assumes the best solution is an ad, and it assumes a lot, right? And so what's why did I even bother saying that? So it goes back to it goes back to the way that we think of brand strategy, right? And how that relates to your business, because so many people, when they do a brand, they'll get a brand strategy and they'll think of it as like it's just a really fancy brief to get to like help inform design, or some quick messaging thing, like a temporary thing or a superficial thing, and they'll use brand strategy just to affect external facing stuff, marketing, external assets, all those things. But
an inside job though too.
But really, yeah. And so that's how we approach it, is like brand strategy. When you do it right, it's exactly what you're saying about that shared vision and everything. Like that's why it's so important to know who you are as a business, as a brand, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not saying this to like sell what we do. I'm just saying, like, just fundamentally as a business owner, the way that you should be thinking about brand, just strategy, purpose, vision, why you're in this business, why only you can solve this thing, why you're the right person at the right time for this audience, for this person that you're reaching, impacting, the person whose life you're going to change, the culture that you're going to create from what you do. So all those big questions that you get to answer through brand strategy. But really, when you have that kind of clarity as a business, then you need to apply it to things like process, like productizing. Like, again, it's why it should affect R&D. It should affect packaging, distribution, who you partner with, how you grow, but also who you hire. If you're hiring people based on a brand strategy, not just a business strategy, or not just a HR need, like you're not just hiring a generic person, you're hiring a human being who is passionate and aligned with the same passions and vision and goals that you as a business have. They believe in what you believe in. Like and if they don't, then they're not going to be a good fit for the long haul. It's why when you go to a business, a physical store, back when, way back when we used to go outside, and man, we're getting close to going back out again. But no, it's you could go to a place and you understood when the employees hated what they do, or they were just, blah about it, versus when people like actually cared and they're excited about where they work and they bring that energy and they're just like, man, I love this that's how you get those kind of employees. That's how you get those kind of followers, that kind of community that loves what you do. The people that'll go to, that'll go to the mats for your brand. They do that because you're informing every business decision with an understanding of brand, knowing who you are and what you stand for and what you do. And so, yeah, I think that's such a good thing, because especially for all the productizing and systematizing, all the tools that are out there, it is important. Like all these things are important, but yeah, if you're not designing it around you as an individual, as a brand, if you're a personal brand, if you're a big business, if you're G100, I don't care. If you're not designing your efficiency, your system around a unified vision, then ultimately your system isn't going to be built to grow your vision and your brand.
Correct.
Then it's just going to be built to make another thing.
Right.
And over time, what you make, you're going to end up losing, just because you're going to get more and more generic, or you'll get ripped off and become generic, or you'll lose your vision and you'll make you'll start to offer products and services and advice or wisdom, whatever you do. Like you'll offer things outside of your brand, and
Right.
you'll do it all into the same, you'll do it under the same umbrella, and it'll be, people will get confused and they'll tune out. Like it's all the same stuff of just, it all ladders back to that. But yeah, sorry, productizing, systematizing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I remember the first time I came up with, this is probably going back 4 years ago, when I came up with the Brand Accelerator name. Once we once we developed the process, we had to name it, right? And so when we realized that, like, that's the best word, accelerator, for it, and then next thing you know, like, everything was an accelerator, right? I'm not saying we coined the phrase. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm not changing the name of my product now because everybody uses the word accelerator in their products. But what I'm trying to say is, when I finally named my service something, I felt like, oh, I could sell this easier now.
Yeah.
Now when somebody says, like, what do you do? Well, I have this program called the Brand Accelerator program, and it helps personality brands or solopreneurs, consultants brand themselves and generate and monetize their expertise online. Well, that's a lot easier to communicate now. So that's the power of productization, especially when you're selling your thinking, right? As a subject matter expert. So that's the benefit of productization. It's going to help you sell easier. That's number one. And it's going to help you package yourself and position yourself a hell of a lot better. But one of the things, going back to systems and processes and team, Brad, I wish that I could just plant a seed in everybody's brain to say, when you finally let go, you will feel the freedom. And nothing is making me more happy over the past couple of weeks, now that I've reinstated the full team back into Unique Designz, is seeing everything happen like a beautiful orchestra, where I am not even the conductor anymore. My project manager is.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we're doing some really cool stuff on Instagram right now. So we're using this platform called $80. It's a really, really cool Chrome extension that I'm playing with on Instagram right now. And instead of me, because I very easily could have manned that task, I said, Pam's my project manager. Pam, who's doing our content distribution? Oh, that's Jason. Okay. Jason's going to have another task to do every day, and that's for him to use $80. And here's exactly how I want it used. Here's a video that I found that shows you how to use it perfectly and ethically. And because it's not one of those spotty body annoying, drop a comment type of thing, like, Instagram banned accounts for. It's not anything like that. But I taught him how to do it, and I said, now you do it. And now we've been using it for 2 days, and Jason's doing such a great job with it. As I'm logging into Instagram periodically throughout the day, I see the results that this is producing. I see the followership. I see the engagement increasing. I see everything happening. And I'm like, wow, I didn't have to be the one to do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's nice about that too, about the freedom, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah. It's also the pride too, I would say. It's, like, not only as a business owner, like, because of course it's freeing, because it's a you again, going back to, you're making more money while doing less work, like, of course, like, that's cool. I have one less thing to do today. Great. That's one more thing I, get to do, that I actually, I can either invest more time into something else, or I can go, unplug for a bit and bring a more present, full self back to this job, But I think it's it goes back to the question earlier about trust and, doing things like the marketing and websites and all those other tasks, right? I think it's interesting because, just again, relating it to my own experience as a, you know, coming up in this, I had a weird career. So before advertising, I did a bunch of stuff, uh, somewhat related, right? Movies, TV, skating, graffiti, all that stuff. But it's, once I got into advertising, just looking at the way you come up in it, right? So like as a creative, I took pride, and my job is to make a really great commercial, a really great billboard, a really great website, a really great sort of experience or campaign, even, for a brand or whatever product we were working on at the time. And then, so like you really have fun doing that. You're like, oh, what's the best headline I can write? What's the best way to tell the story? What's the, most effective print ad in this space? Whatever the medium was, okay, cool. Like, how can we really have fun breaking this medium? And you get really good at that, right? But then as a leader, as a creative leader, then I take pride in, it's my job to train other people to do that thing faster, right? So like I get really quick at coming up with a really good ad, but now it's like, cool, now it's my job to teach others how to do it. So when I see teams under me succeeding and them growing and them finding that confidence, that's what fills me with joy.
Yeah.
And then as a business owner, a step above that, what you start doing is, okay, cool, so now I know how to do the job. I know then how to teach people how to do that job. Now how can I build a process that helps others teach others how to do that task faster, so that what we do, ultimately what we offer, and again, just apply the same words to branding, all that other stuff. But it's like, these things that we do, we're now thinking about it in terms of systems and process.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it's an organic thing. It's an organic escalation of creative problem solving. It's, the next step up. It's the next natural evolution, instead of just like, okay, well, now I'm a manager and I have to business. So bleep blort, I'm gonna business now. It's no, like you don't become a robot, and you don't instantly become a really great manager. You have to work hard at those things. You don't overnight, read a book and become great at process. Of course, hire a project manager to make your process better.
Right.
Hire somebody who's an expert in doing that thing to help make that thing more efficient, to help teach you what are some ways you can build that into your stuff. So like, then you grow your process from there, and I think what's nice too about, yeah. And then what's nice too about sort of when we talk about productizing and all those other things, just thinking about it as an agency then is yeah, I can do anything. I've done global, fully integrated transmedia campaigns, but that stuff, it has rhythms and beats to it, and you can systematize that to a point. But at a certain point, like, the ceiling is infinite. Cool. Like, we can make this campaign huge. This production can be anything. But what's great about things like branding, as much as it's scales up to the business, because of course you want to invest the right amount as a business into your brand always, but you also learn, like, cool, if I reduce the number of things I offer, if I just stay focused, if I focus on this thing today, if I focus on one thing at a time. And I think that's what's cool about the Brand Accelerator. Like, great. Why I think that name really helped you is it helps you focus in on the goal of that offering.
Right.
It's the goal of that is to help a brand accelerate, grow faster, get to market faster, do what it needs to do faster.
Yeah.
A brand usually takes a long time to get to, and brand strategy takes a long time, especially if you're a little wishy-washy and you're newer at this stuff, and it takes a long time to get to these answers that aren't easy, like these hard things, to answer and sum up as a business, as a brand. And so, what you need to do is you need to really get to those things quicker. So Accelerator says so much, I would say, but it also helps you focus. I think that's part of that freedom too. You're like, oh, great. I don't have to reinvent this wheel every time I step up to this thing. I know exactly what I'm here to do. I know exactly what I'm here to make. And now, as I Now I've productized it. Now I can systematize it. How can everything I'm doing here be designed and built to help others do this thing faster?
Right.
And then how do I do that better? Great. Can I help them reach step 3 without step 2? Can I just go? What if we start here? So you start to play in there and you start to remove steps, because again, you know what you're trying to do. You know what it's designed to do. So over time, you get to keep changing and now growing with technology, growing with culture, growing with the times, growing with your audience, and you get to maintain the clarity and singularity of focus, you know?
I think
Yeah.
clarity and confidence is the key to success. I am a firm believer of that. And that clarity through the brand strategy process really helps tremendously get an understanding of what needs to be said, what needs to be done, and how it's going to happen. And you know, we just finished up client profiles for a client today. He's coming through the Brand Accelerator program right now. And when we got to the similarities and the differences of the two client profiles, he said, Jesus, I could write a book on these two people now. That's his words, not mine. And I was like, I know. Do you see what we just did here? Like, well, you know these people better than they know themselves. You know what to say to them. You know what not to say to them. You know how to position yourself in front of one and not the other. And how powerful is that when it comes to the next phase, which is building out the personality of the brand and the attributes of the brand, and really understanding how we need to sound and look and feel. And he was like, no, I get it now, you know? And he said, I've had this business for 10 years. I wish I did this year 2 and not 10, but here I am, you know, but here I am. And I said, listen, that's why this program exists, because I feel the same way. You know, had I had a program like this and somebody like me walking me through this early on, we'd be doing this from a yacht somewhere, because, you know, I'd be so much further ahead at least in my head. You know, I feel like I would be so much further ahead in business. But guess what? I'm happy that I was able to build something out of life lessons and business lessons that are going to help other people now get to where they want to be a hell of a lot faster. So,
yeah, you know, everybody's journey is unique. Yeah, and I love, and it's all circular, man. Like, it all comes back to, you know, when you have this process, you have this stuff, you're able to do less. You're able to start trusting more, because
I'm going to pick up my son. We're going to be at the park, and after that, I'm going out to a nice dinner with one of my buddies. And
exactly. Yeah, because you know, like, it's not just that you're more efficient with what you've done. Like, we've made it a more efficient process, but now you've also made it a more clear thing, so you can train someone else to take it on. Right. So as Unique Designz grows, you know, like, your clients won't experience a quality dip as others become trained in this, because what makes you now unique is what you do and how you do it. It's all unique because it's something that only you can do. And that's I think what it goes back to. And when we talk about systematizing, I would love, for everybody listening, I think it's, you know, taking small steps. You know, I'd be curious to see, like, what job the listeners can take, you know, what tasks they can delegate. I think if they just start simple, you know, like, what's one thing you can offload? What's one thing that you know so well, that you do so clearly, that you can offload it tomorrow?
Yeah. One of my biggest recommendations, I would say, out of all of this conversation today, was your first hire should be an assistant or a project manager.
Yeah.
They
project managers. Oof, they're good. When they're good, they're good.
That's what I'm saying. And invest in them. Like, like, again, hire the person based off a shared vision. If they align with your company culture, if they align with your values, like, my God, just consider them a diamond in the rough, because there's more people out there that won't align than they will align. So when
Yeah.
you find that person, make sure that you invest in them. Like,
Yeah. And if you can't afford a salary, oftentimes like you can talk to, especially for project managers and for people who design and work within systems, you can hire them to design a system. That's something that I don't think a lot of people think of when they think of PMs
that's what
is
she helped
like,
me tremendously.
yeah, just okay, great. Until I can bring someone on full time, what's the system that can get me to this thing faster? Don't tell them how to, what system you're looking for because then you're doing their job. But
Right.
but yeah, what are you trying to accomplish?
Right.
What do you want the workflow to look like? Great. That's what they're going to deliver now. Let them do their job.
That's it. And
And
step
that might be the first thing that you offload.
and I think that's how it happened for me, at least. And that's why I'm getting all
Yeah.
giddy over here, because like you reminded me of going back 6 years, 5 years. Everything feels like 5 minutes, especially when you have a
Yeah.
kid. You know what I mean? 5 minutes is really 5 years. But
Yeah.
I remember when Pam came on board. I mean, the feeling of relief I had, and then she had resources that I wasn't aware of, and then she slowly started to build out the team, and then we hired our first designer, and that designer had a mini team behind them, which was a really cool way of expanding. And we assigned point people, and
Yeah.
now everybody has and stays in their zone of genius. And this is why I could feel the momentum picking back up tremendously post COVID. I guess we could call it post COVID. And that space, the creative thinking space that I now have, and thinking of things that we can do now in the future, in the next 6 months of this year, and what we're able to accomplish now that we're all in syncrasy. Is that a word? Syncrasy.
Synchronicity. Yeah.
Synchronicity. That's what I
Yeah.
want. Synchronicity.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think yeah, that's
So
awesome.
so
Nice. Well, let's
well. Yeah, we're
let's
gonna.
make that the action then. Let's say that's today's takeaway. I'd love
Shoot.
what do you think about that, Henry? Sharing what they've offloaded. And if
Yeah.
it's a project manager, that's the thing to share.
So do this. Drop in the comments. What's the one task you're going to offload, and to who? And then the next thing is, and you're supposed to, you're not supposed to do more than one, but I'm going to do it anyway. What I want you guys to do is take a screenshot of this and tag us in Instagram. So I'm at the Brand Dr. And B, what are you?
BNG NYC. BNG NYC.
Super easy. And let us know what your biggest takeaway was of today's video, today's conversation. And I'm really passionate about this stuff, because I feel like when you get to this level, at first it's going to feel uncomfortable, like you should be doing something else. But that is exactly what you should be feeling, because that's you opening up the space to have those thoughts and have those ideas and those strategies to help grow the business. You're not going to be able to grow the business when you're constantly peddling the tedious things that you could easily hand off to somebody else. So remember, who can help you? You don't need to get bogged down on how this is going to get down. Just who is the best out there that you could afford that's going to make this thing happen. And let it go. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. And watch the magic that happens. And I guess that's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Hey, do more by doing less.
That's it. Tattoo that on your forehead.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Brett, thanks for coming on.
Man.
And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like I said, drop a comment here, because we will
hit that bell, do all the things.
Yes. You know what to do. You know what to do. You hear from all the other YouTube channels.
Yeah, exactly. Do all the things that they said. That'll be that's one less thing we can do.
I love it, dude. All right, guys, have an amazing day and catch us live every Monday and Wednesday here, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk to you soon, guys. Take care.